Guys, I think it's been like, I don't know, a year and a half. Is this, is the music okay here? Is the music okay? Hopefully it's not too loud for you guys. A little bit of background noise, but hopefully it's not overwhelming. Guys, welcome to like my first stream in forever. Obviously, if you're here, you know we're going to be looking at some new software. You know, I don't think we're going to touch a lot on the Lychee controversy right now. You know, I made a video. If you hadn't seen the video, go check it out on YouTube. It's Table Flip Foundry. I think I've said what I need to say on that topic. So today we are going to be exploring, this software is called Runebrace. And if you're in the chat, welcome everybody. More people showed up than I really expected, so I'm so glad to see you guys. So I want to start off by saying, if you can, I don't know if when you go and look, Runebrace is not a fully released software yet. It's still actively in development. So we're going to be looking at something that's by no means a finished product today. And so we might run into some things that are bugs that still need to be looked at, or, you know, I do my fair share of coding, albeit like not great, but I know what it's like to be working by yourself on a project and you know everything about the project and how it works. And so it can be really hard to keep in mind what a brand new user might think is intuitive versus what you might think is intuitive. So when we go through this, I will make mistakes. Some of the software, you might come across things in the software where it's like, it's still got to be updated or something. So I want you guys to keep in mind, this software is actively in development. This is not to be expected to be a perfect, polished, finished product right now. There's only one developer working on it. He's a super nice guy. He's actually here in the chat with us. That's Renato. Hopefully I pronounced that right. So that's Renato. And he's in my screen. He's got a yellow text. I don't know if everybody sees it or not, but I wish I probably could have chat on screen, but you know, I haven't streamed in a long time and I just kind of threw this together today. So bear with me. So Renato's going to be here for a little while. I believe he's in Italy, so it's quite late for him and we don't want to occupy all his time, but as much time as he's willing to share with us here live on the stream, answer questions, help me when I get stuck, that'll be awesome. So if you guys have any questions for him, he's here. You can chat with him while he's here. I believe you can go to, let me post a link to where you can get, hold on, I should have had this all queued up already and I didn't. Where you can find Runebrace. Let me post it here in the chat. All right, here it is in the chat. So it's terabella.it/Runebrace. I don't have, I haven't set up all of my scenes, so I don't have a way for you to look at the window. But yeah, it's this software is the official software that Artisan Guild uses for their miniatures, and Renato is the one that does their support. So he developed this software because he knew exactly what he wanted, exactly how he wanted to work. And so I think as of today, and he just said, as of today, 4 months of Artisan Guild releases have been released purely using Runebrace, which means as it sits, as long as you have a deep understanding of the software, you could create production capable supports directly out of this software. Now, this isn't, I don't believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, this isn't slicing software, right? So it's not a full-fledged alternative for Lychee Slicer, meaning you're not going to be able to take this program and create a slice, a CTB file, and send it directly to your printer. Right now, what this is for specifically is for supports, right? Which is, in my opinion, one of the biggest benefits that Lychee Slicer has over Lychee. I never know what to say, but it's one of the biggest benefits that Lychee Slicer has over Chi2Box or Prusa Slicer or any of the other slicers. They did quite a good job with the support system, and to be honest, it's the best available, right? The Lychee support system for the publicly available full-fledged software, it's the best available, and so they've had really good success with that. But competition is good. It's time to look at something new, and this software is specifically for support work. So if you're downloading pre-supported files and you're just throwing them in a slicer and sending them, you can still use Chi2Box. You can still use any of the other slicers you want. But most of 3D work is done in the support end of the software. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. So I'm going to switch over to Runebrace here. Let's have a quick look. Hey, there it is. All right. And I think it's fully on screen. So this is Runebrace. I knew about Runebrace a few months back, and I did download it at the time, and I played with it a little bit, but it wasn't one of those things. I knew it was still in development. It was much earlier in development, and so a lot, I think, has been updated since then. And to be honest, I didn't take a ton of time to play with it, mostly because I use Lychee full-time for professional pre-support work. And so going and messing with some other software would take time out of my workday, and I just never dedicated any time to really digging into the software. But things change, and so here we are looking at new software. Now I have some time, luckily, and it's perfect timing. So what I'm getting at here is that I have very, very, very little experience here. So what we're doing is, this is a very first look at Runebrace from a person who has no experience. I've asked no questions. I haven't had a ton of time to read all the responses on the Discord server. So we're looking at a brand new user's experience entering the software. Where am I going to stumble? Where am I going to figure it out intuitively? Things like that. So John Deere asks, how are the auto supports? John, I don't believe this has auto supports. I could be wrong, but as of now, I don't think anybody has good auto supports. So we're still waiting for good development on that. But my understanding is that this has extremely advanced technologies involved with support placement, with knowing where to place supports, with how many supports to place, object orientation, things like that. Their website has a lot of really great videos there that show you some of the advanced features. I saw the intelligent auto orientation, and that looked good, and I would really, really like to play with some of that stuff today. So I do know that for about a minute before we started the stream, I started messing with this, and I noticed immediately one problem I had with the camera. And so the first thing we're going to do is, instead of me getting lost with this camera right away, we're going to start with general settings and see if we can find some camera settings. So here, I think this is it. This has got to be it. So what I'm used to is clicking the middle mouse button and rotating the camera, but it looks like the amount that it's moving compared to my mouse is really extreme, and I need it to be less extreme. It would be very easy. I'm only moving my mouse maybe a 1/4 inch to get this much movement. It's not very much at all. And so we need to reel this back in. So I'm going to assume the cam multiplier for panning. So let's just go 1.0. Let's see where that goes. That was it. Okay. That makes total sense, because all I'm doing is panning. Now there's a rotation multiplier, and that's usually right click, and actually 3 times is good. So I'm going to try 3 times, or I assume 3 times. You know what? 3 seems like the perfect setting, honestly. This feels very, very natural now. So I think the first thing when you open Runebrace, go into general settings, go into global settings, change both of these to 3, because that was one thing I did first and foremost. I lost the build plate, and then I said, all right, I'm going to do this on stream. and we'll see if we can fix it on stream. So, so Dawes, okay, I'm gonna do my best. Dawn Zinks says, does it have similar features from Lychee where you can edit supports manually? I actually don't know the answer to this. I believe the answer is yes. I've watched some of the videos. I didn't specifically see that in the videos, but there's no way that I would believe that we'd come this far with a person as technically skilled as Renato on supports and not be able to do that. Though I suspect probably there might be a lot of shortcut differences or missing shortcuts that we could really like look at maybe, but luckily Renato and I talk a little bit, and perhaps I'll be able to offer like the quality of life things that I know of doing pre-supports, and if he wants to put them into the software. Streak says, is there Linux support? Yes, there is Linux support, but I think Renato just put out a patch today that made it work better. So if you're a Linux or Mac user, it's supported across the board. But just everybody keep in mind, this is one guy doing all of the development. So he's so far, he's been very responsive. He's been responding to people on our Discord server, answering questions. I think he even revised something and updated it like immediately because there was a request for an extra keystroke for the X keys. So, so all that aside, I got the beginning part figured out. The camera was my immediate issue. So now I'm going to pull in the official Puck the Adventurer STL. It's on my cloud, so it's downloading right now. There it is. So I like how this started out. Instead of the camera being way out where I was, the camera gave me a really good, clean view of the entire model. I imagine if it was a bigger model, V1. We're going to work with V1 today because we haven't seen him in a while. And so anyway, I like the immediate camera snap. I think that's a good little feature. I like the raft, though I have specific raft needs for when I do professional pre-supports. So it's important to me that the raft exceeds 0.5 millimeters. So we need the raft to be something like 0.6, 0.7 millimeters. The reason we use 0.5, 0.6 millimeters is because a lot of people who have Z compression in their printer, if that compression exceeds the height of the raft, most of their supports will fail, the print will fail, and a lot of these auto bed leveling printers, they have a lot of Z compression. So I try to give us a little bit of a buffer, a nice thick raft that doesn't shatter when you try to get it off the build plate. One thing I see here that I love, this angle right here. This helps you get a spatula underneath it. And so I always like, Lychee doesn't have an efficient, well-shaped raft that has that angle unless there's a suction cup built in. And so I've always resorted to the suction cup raft because it works, but it's like got a nice big lip specifically to get a spatula under. So I'm going to want to start with the raft here. So we're going to adjust these raft settings. Looks like it's already 0.5, which is great. And okay, looks like there's only the one type right now, which is fine. But I am going to change the raft thickness. Let's do 0.7. So it's a little on the thick side, but okay. Eric Jackson says, how robust is Runebrace? I've been dealing with some excessively heavy models, 8 million plus polys for a 40 millimeter person model. That's excessive for 3D printing. I mean, even like a full volume, large scale model, that's really excessive, 8 million polys. But I will do my best to find us a high poly model. I might even have one or two floating around, and we can try to load it in and see. Now the catch here is, I'm sure your hardware is going to play a big difference. I have a very, very powerful computer. I have a 4090 Ti. and I think an i9. I actually can't remember at this point. Give me a moment. I'll tell you. So I run a 4090 and a Core i9 14th gen with 128 gigs of DDR5. So I have a very, very fast computer. So your mileage may vary when it comes to how quickly things load, how smooth everything works, all of that stuff. So, okay. So the raft was easy. There it is. Raft settings. I love that these are collapsible. I think, there's a number of things personally I would want either on screen at all times or, here we're already looking at support presets, but it's not my first thing in the workflow. So the first thing in the workflow is going to be orientation. And so I am not sure where orientation tools are just yet. So this is auto orient, but I want the ability to rotate him. Let's see. Snap grid. Ooh, we're going to talk about that for sure. Where am I missing it? They say XYZ at the top. Oh, here we go. Rotation. Okay, so I can't grab him. I have to do this with numbers. Okay. Not a fan of that. One thing I would say, use gizmo, press R. Hey, okay. Is there a place in the app that would indicate that? So this is exactly what I want, right? I do everything sort of like intuitively. So I'm always looking. I just look at it. I don't do it by numbers. Plenty of people like the numbers, and that's great. But is there a place here that, let's see, shortcuts at the bottom? Okay. Okay. Support editing, selection, models, camera. R, toggle rotation, no supports. S, left. Okay, the smoothing tool. I saw a video of that. That looks really cool. Okay, so the rotation is the thing I need. Yeah, I'm used to there being like a rotate button, a move button, a mirror button. I think every slicer I've used have those options. So maybe there's some, eventually I'll just use it enough and eventually I'll know, but intuitively I was looking for that because every software we've had previously, let me move my little camera here so I'm out of the way. Every software we've had has always had those sort of buttons always on the left as your main toolbar. Okay, cool. So I always tend to rotate my models away from the camera so that we don't put supports on the face if we can help it. There's really not a whole lot of rotation we have to do on this guy. Okay. Now Don Zink says, any chance we can use Blender shortcuts? The average person actually doesn't know. Oh, I like that. Yeah, so the gray box is actually universal. So this is, Y-axis, Z-axis, and X-axis. But the circle rotates exactly based on where the camera is. So it doesn't matter. You could have half-axis. You could have 3 axes rotating at the same time. I really like that. That's one feature I hadn't seen before. So I just put the camera where I want to rotate and just move it without having to align with any of the axes. That's a really cool feature that I've not seen before. I would love to. Oh, I was going to get to Don Z's. So in Blender, if you select your object, you hit R for rotate, and then you choose an axis you want to rotate around. Or if you just hit R, it's the equivalent of the gray circle. The thing is I think the average 3D printing user has no idea what Blender uses. And so I think that is not going to be intuitive to the average user, whereas they're likely to have started with Satellite or Prusa Slicer or Chi2 Box or Lychee Slicer, and they'll most likely be used to this widget tool doodad thingy, whatever, you know, the 3-axis tool. But I really do like that idea because it's such a powerful system. Yeah, that was one thing I was missing. And also when I lost the viewport and I couldn't find it anywhere, I had no method of returning home, getting me back. I didn't find it, at least, but I couldn't figure out how to, reset camera. Boom. It's there. It's just like not the same place as I'm used to looking, but it's there. So that's perfect. Okay, so we'll hit R to get rid of the doodad because we're done rotating. So next on my workflow would be island detection. So let's have a look at that. Actually, can I... Oh, I love this. This is new. So if I place a support on an island, that island is removed from the... It's removed from the... Auto bracing. I like that. I really like that. Okay. Okay, so now what if I wanted to create a mini support here? So the hotkey, I don't know what that is. So the hotkey in Lychee for me to create a mini support is Control-Alt. So I have no way of creating that brace. Okay, so it's going to be different. So we're going to be looking for F1 add an auto branch. Okay, F1. Hold. So we're holding F1. Okay, I see. So F1 is creating a branch from... Is it an arbitrary point? It looks like around the knuckle of the tree. So, okay, so I select a support, hold F1, and it's creating from down here. Okay. Not what I'm used to, but let's look at what else we have. F1 in the wheel to cycle the auto branch candidates. So there must be different types of auto branch. Oh, I see. The candidates are which support might be most appropriate for the branch. Okay. F2, add a branch to another support. All right. F2 plus drag. Oh, I like this. See, supports like this are what I'm more familiar with. Oops. I'm used to... Yeah, I know I'm using the nano presets. Right now, I'm just trying to figure out the tools. I don't expect any of this to work at all. But I'm just trying to figure out the tools here. For Lychee, I'm used to clicking the starting point and clicking the ending point. For this, we're clicking and dragging the starting and ending point. I could see, and I'll have to get deeper into this, but I could see possibly a very busy scene. Like, you know, I'm just being messy, but I could see a problem trying to click and drag, and you can rotate while holding it. I can't zoom in. I can zoom in out while holding it, but that's a lot of mouse buttons. Okay, I lost the click and drag, but... Okay, if you right-click and rotate, you lose it. But I was just thinking clicking and dragging might offer a difficult path from, like, the starting point to the ending point. So, okay. Perfect. All right, so all of that was intuitive. The deletion is intuitive. The selection is intuitive. Okay, yeah, we'll just go to medium. Medium, this is what I use for my lights. I use a point. Oh, I'm used to typing that in, but that's okay. Okay. I see the dragger, but I would love the option to also type because I run a 0.28 on my official settings, but now I'm restricted to 2.7 or 2.9, which doesn't matter, but the granularity is very hard to get precise here. So we'll go with that. Okay, so this is the diameter of the support. So let's have a look here. So, oh, I see. Okay. So that's good enough. See, landing right on one might be hard. Middle one. Oof. Oof, oof, oof. And base. Okay. So I'd have to go through probably, and I love that the bottom disappears. There is something that because of the auto bed leveling printers, there's often a lot of Z compression. And to combat that, I found, I shouldn't have to do this with supports, but I found that by adding in a little cone at the bottom, I've completely eliminated failures due to compression. I don't know if that's in here, but it is something I would love to see because it's quite, it's been really effective. Ever since I've started it, I've never had a compression failure before or since then. Okay, so next is structure. So the tip length from here to here is 1.7 millimeter. Now I switched that to 2.5 when I started using grid supports from Lychee. And I know there's a grid option here. Okay, so it looks like there's grid here. Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay. Yes. I'm so glad. So the F key to focus. So if I wanted to see right here, I'm focusing around it, I'm rotating around his hand. This is one of the buttons that somebody introduced me to after like 8 months of using Lychee, and it just changed. It blew my mind. So the F key will take the global focus and put it wherever the mouse is. So if I want the global focus, see right now I'm rotating around his hand. If I want the global focus to be here, I put my mouse over it, hit F, and now I'm rotating around the tip of the sword. This will change your life if you don't know about it. So the F key is the same as Lychee. I love it. That is amazing. I always say it's the focus button, F for focus, which helps people remember it. Okay, let's see. So he says optimize supports on grid is better. I work during the grid editor. So the way that I'm used to working is just like this. Because I can see what's happening while it's happening. And personally, I like that. But we'll do both because I want to test everything. Even if it's not a technique I use, I want to test it. So the grid support is fantastic. What if I change the size of this while grid supported? Okay. What if I change the branch? Oh, are you defaulting? You're defaulting the base to the largest. Hey, Cindy, this dingo, 3 dingo is in the house today. Okay. This was a huge problem with Lychee and their grid support system, was that when you wanted to add another support to the grid, sometimes that support would take over the trunk of the tree, so to speak. And so if you were to place, let's say we had an anchor. Let's say we had a heavy support and it was our anchor. And then I was doing some minor supports above the anchor. right? I would switch and grab a mini support, we'll say, and I would throw it above the anchor, and the entire trunk would change to the mini support for no reason. No reason at all. And then I would have to go in and modify the base size and the mid size and all that stuff, and I would have to fix it. And I would have to do that every time. Every time I would do it. But it looks like this software defaults to whichever branch of the tree has the largest trunk. And so it's always the most stable support possible. So even though this one was the heavy and was the trunk, when I changed it to a micro, it switched and used the biggest trunk on the branches on the tree, making it the strongest it possibly can be. This is chef's kiss for the grid supports. Also, the angle at which you're allowing me to snap to, I don't know how to word this, okay? So I'm going to struggle here for a second. So what I'm really liking is sometimes I have a hard time getting the angle I want on the tip and the support. So in Lychee, it's like it's like sometimes it just snaps and that's it. This is all you get. You move it around, hardly anything happens. But the amount of control I feel I have here is, yeah. So I was going to get to that because I saw that in the video, is much, much, much better than before. Now, Renato has raw normals added, and you can see here. See how little control I have here with raw normals added? This is how Lychee works. And it gets really, really frustrating because it's looking at the polygon, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but it looks at the polygon my mouse is over, and then it makes sure that the support is exactly perpendicular to that polygon. It doesn't look at the shape I'm trying to support at all and be perpendicular to the shape. It just says, okay, this one polygon is 45 or 37 degrees off this side, so the angle of that support must be 37 degrees on that polygon. But the tip of my support covers a whole grouping of polygons. Averaging the grouping of the polygons would have made this such an easier experience. Okay, Streakhead asks a great question. Okay, normals is kind of this weird term that has to do with 3D models. So Donzi says it's the direction of the face. This is a very good and quick explanation for what a normal is, but there's a little more too. In this context, the direction of the face is what we're referring to. When you hear the term normals, you may often hear about outside and inside normals, and those are referring to which side of the polygon is the outside and which side of the polygon is the inside, and an artist can accidentally flip those and you get some weird results. In this case, like Dawn said, we're talking about the direction of the polygons. So yes, thank you for not defaulting to raw normals, and whatever it is you're doing to make this work, this is literally perfect. This makes me lining up exactly where I want that support angle to be so much easier. Okay, fantastic. And here, I'm used to hitting space and being able to adjust just the tip size on the fly. I'll have to get used to this. I do want better control over this. So either allow me to type a number or all three. Allow me to drag the slider, allow me to type a number, or give me a plus and minus that I can click so I can control this more granularly without me sitting here and having to fiddle with it until I get the 0.22 that I was looking for. So I would really love to see more control over the controls. But God, that placement, the placement formula, I don't know, algorithm you're using, significant improvement. Okay, Now, I see the color here, and this is new to me. And I notice the color comes up when I place the support. I don't know what the color represents. I imagine it's got to be really helpful, or else no time would be put into it. And I suspect it may have something to do with volume being held up by the support. But I notice this volume down here is also green and not being supported. So I've got to be wrong on that. But I would love to understand what this coloring system is and how I can use it. Okay, I'm not sure if that was for me. So I'm going to hope Renato clarifies that for me. Let's... Oh, I see. Okay. This is an OSX, bad for OpenGL, metal in Logic. Okay. I'm in Windows, by the way. So if anybody's curious, I'm a Windows user. That's what I've got here. I'm going to remove all the supports. Yeah, actually, let's test that. So Don says, with a bigger support, will the color be bigger? So I'm going to use a micro, and we can kind of see here. We can kind of see this is the color for the micro. Let's switch to heavy. The color doesn't change. The touch point changed, but the color didn't change. So let's remove it. Maybe it doesn't update when I change the size of the support. So let me place a new support. Way bigger. Okay, so Renato now knows by switching the size, the color isn't updating with the new size, but it definitely updates. If I put a micro on there, it's a small green area. If I put a heavy on there, it's a large green area. I still am not 100% sure what I'm representing, but it does make it very clear that I've got much heavier contact with the model. Like seeing this, I know I've got a ton of contact with this model, and that will be helpful, but I'd love to know the specifics of how is this area represented? Is it representative of how much, I don't know how to, is it how much weight I'm carrying? But in this, it's not about weight. It's always about surface area and torque. So is it representative of how much of this surface area this tip could hold possibly? Yeah, it's definitely useful, and I'm sure it will become intuitive, but I'd love to know exactly. And then I could kind of like craft some techniques around exactly what that green area is. But maybe that's not something we got to dive into right this second. It would definitely help you notice areas that maybe you forgot. So like, let's say I put one on the bottom of the sword. The sword needs more than one support, and I can clearly see that we haven't really given it much because it starts to turn blue after that. And so it's like, I know that I can work my way up the sword now all the way until it reaches the body. And now when I look at it, I know this sword has been supported. There's no missed spots here. And I really like that. One thing I could see being very helpful is hopefully I can, oops, wrong button. Sorry, I'm looking through my microphone here. What I could see being very helpful is right now the model is blue. It's blue, top, bottom, left, and right on all axes. When I add this along the side, it indicates to me that the support has been placed and that the bottom side of this sword has been supported, but the blue doesn't indicate to me that the blue may possibly indicate to me an area that might otherwise need supports, where when it's on the top, it doesn't, right? So when I'm looking at anything blue from the top down, just absolutely doesn't need supports. Anything from the bottom, and I'm seeing the yellow here. Okay. Yellow shows the bottom surface, and I don't see much yellow here. Is there control for those things? So is this maybe a general theme and color. These are just colors. Yeah, Eric makes a perfect point. That is very, very true, but it's still, you can get a tolerance. You can get like a good range of knowing how much. I know this one support won't hold up the sword, but I only know that intuitively. And I know this one support likely won't even hold up most of the green area, but I also only know that intuitively. And I know that because I've failed so many times. So I know I'm going to need to like back it up. But the logic here is super strong. It probably would just need... I've got some ideas on that. I even think I talked to Renato about it in private, about maybe having like a special calibration print, run the print, see what the results of the print are, input the results of that print in here, and then all of a sudden this green area changes based on the results of your test print, which should be testing your tensile strength. And maybe that takes a little brute force, but like we could run some weaker resin and some stronger resin, have different results. And if I put in the results of that weaker resin in here, the green is smaller. And if I put in the results of the stronger resin here, the green is bigger. And then you can have some sort of like average ones. That would be extremely useful for everybody. That would be really cool. But yeah, I'm really... Renato, this is very good, sir. This is very, very good. And you've, like, I told you I played with it a little bit, but I didn't spend a lot of time with it. But like, I feel like you have come such a long way since I saw it a few months ago. Okay, so let's continue. One thing I didn't get to play with that I'd love to play with here is there is a... I hope I never pronounce your name wrong, Renato. I feel like I'm going to say Ronaldo or something like that. So I apologize if I ever do that. Just my brain is going nuts here. I want to do the... I saw in the video there was the intelligent auto orientation. And my understanding from watching that video on your website was that you sort of pick an orientation that you like, and then there's a button you have to click to do this auto orient. Now, your video has different buttons here. So I have reset camera, mirror, and mirror Z, but your video has auto orient, reset camera. So where do I find the... Where do I find that? Let's see. Here's audio auto orient by overhangs. Or by islands. Okay. So maybe I miss... There's no audio in the video that you have on the site, so I was just trying to interpret what was taking place. But it looks like the auto orient, if I choose by overhangs and rotation steps, I'm just going to run this and see what happens. Actually, let me do this. Is there a way for me to select the model and delete it? There's a Discord link directly on the website that I linked earlier. Let me put the website back up here. Also, we have a Runebrace channel on our Discord server too. So, you know, I know that's a place where you can ask questions or maybe talk to Renato every now and again. Renato, how do I delete this? How do I remove this model and bring in a new model? Just bring in a new one and it deletes the old one? Because I want to bring in the same model because I want to start. Oh, it just starts over. Oh, okay. So yeah, that makes total sense. There's no reason to have more than one model on the on the scene at the same time. Okay, perfect. So we're going to do the audio orient based on how I just dropped Huck in right away. And we're going to hit find best orientation. Okay, is it so this is based on overhangs. So each rotation you're calculating how many overhangs there are, not necessarily how many islands, but how much overhang there is. And then are you rotating? Yeah, no worries. And obviously it's going pretty fast. You're not rotating the model on the x-axis. You're only rotating on the y-axis. It looks like. Or is he is rotating. It's just subtle. So every single step he rotates a little more. Okay. So for the average user, this is a really good orientation. It's not the one that I would pick. This is good for models that exit from the build plate. Oh, like when they're really big, this will help you orient it so it fits? Is that what you mean? So this is not the orientation I would have picked personally, but for the average user, this is solid. The reason I wouldn't have picked this orientation personally is I don't like seeing these arms out horizontally like that. There's a lot of support or extra anchoring I have to do, and then of course it's very hard to get anchors in under there. And then also I try to avoid putting supports on the front of a character's face. But generally speaking, it's like the orientation is really good. The sword is vertical. The leg goes up at a slope. Like all of these, you know, this slope is good. This is vertical. The arm is sloped here. The sword is vertical. The face is sloped, right? The only thing we try to avoid is this perfectly horizontal plane here. So it is a very good orientation. Just, we'll say professionally speaking, not the one I would pick, but it's quite good. It's quite good. So, okay. So, let me just load him back in. We're going to try that again. Renato said maybe. Okay. So let's do, by islands and see how this goes. And this is 30 rotate angle by 30 degrees, rotation steps. So if I were to load him in fully upside down, let's say, why am I struggling to move him? Ooh, I am not capable of seeing the preview for my rotation right now. I don't know what took place, but I can't see the preview. I kind of have to click and move. Okay. So if he loaded in upside down and I did this auto orient would focus on the orientation he's in currently, and then we'll do 15 steps and we'll do 20 degrees or whatever. It would start from this orientation and then do the rotation based on my starting orientation. Okay, so what that would do is it would allow me to pick an orientation I think is good and then tighten it up a bit, right? I think. I turned the steps down from 20 to 15. I don't know how many to turn down, but I like that because then I can pick the orientation I think is good, but then I can, algorithmically go in and let this sort of tweak the orientation so that it's the best it can be. That's really hard for me to eyeball. Like I'm pretty good at eyeballing it, but I'm not perfect at eyeballing it. And so this would allow me to kind of go in there, pick an orientation, maybe have it do 5 steps or whatever, tweak just a little bit, find the best in the orientation that I think is good. So I like that. I think so. Now this says, phase 1 of 4, and I chose by island here. And this is something I'll play with more off screen because it takes a lot of time, where I may come up with settings I like that I share with you guys. But let's see what happens after this is done here. Okay. Is there a way for me to save presets? So if I 77 islands. Okay. Cool. I'll have to do some testing on there. I didn't check how many islands there were before I ran the auto orientation. So let me load in puck again. Okay, there's a new puck. Okay, somewhere, and I'm going to do a test here. I'm going to close this window. Let me go back to Facecam and reopen it. So somewhere along the way, I lost the ability to preview the rotation in the middle of using it. So let me reopen the software. Okay. So we'll go back. Okay. So I restarted the software. I'm going to load in puck. And then I'm going to hit the R button. Here I can see the live preview of the rotation. So now that I've done that, if I do orientation, auto orient with, let's say, 5 steps, just to make it fast. None of this matters to me right now. Okay, so it picked the orientation. It's doing island detection. Now if I rotate, I still get the preview. Okay, so somewhere along the way I lost the rotation preview, and I don't know what I might have done, but as soon as I find that, I'll report it to you, Renato. So let's put him back. This is, let's say, roughly the orientation I want. Yeah, I'm not sure. I closed it and reopened it, so okay. Now you said this is not guaranteed. The minor islands, because the process is made approximated. The real detect island, printer settings, layer height dependent, is more precision. Yes, I totally get that. And I know that Lychee does that because the pixel size will dictate the island size. And pressing R after island detection will clear islands. Oh, that could get really messy. Luckily, your island detection is very fast. But here I might want to rotate, but I guess as soon as I rotate, I lose islands. So, but simply just accidentally hitting R, opening the widget, and then closing it also removes the islands. So if I made the mistake, you could have me accidentally hitting R when I'm trying to hit another button, and then having to rescan over and over and over. So I think it should be, it only clears the islands if the rotation has changed, not simply opening and closing the widget. But your island detection is very quick, so it's hard to say. And you know what I will do is I don't want to do this live on camera too, because there's a lot of brute force testing I would do. But I'll keep the exact rotation of the model, bring it into Lychee, run it on a real scan with like the one that we do our scans for presupports, bring it in here and see how big of a difference there is. And then also we'll have to do some UV tool testing to see. This is a really simple model, but a more complex model might have missed islands. And I know there's going to be a balance you have to make for how much tolerance you want. Because if you go to 1 pixel, we're going to do a scan. It's going to have 900 islands. It's just going to be ridiculous and unreasonable. But if you go too loose, you won't get enough islands. So I know you have to find that like fine balance. Now, my understanding is that you're using it for Artisan Guild. And I'm very familiar with Artisan. I've got months and months, I think a year's worth of Artisan Guild models in a folder from years ago. So so you as a pre-support worker are spoiled by how good I don't know how to pronounce his name, so it's either Andre or Andrea, the artist for Artisan Guild will say, for how good he is at sculpting. And so when you come up against a person who is less skilled at sculpting for 3D printing, the island counts get really complex. And so it's like you may have dialed in based on artisan guild models here, but if you start throwing in some less, I don't want to say less skilled, but less crafted, I don't know, models crafted less for 3D printing, like somebody who throws textures on the bottom surfaces of things and doesn't, yeah, you get what I'm saying, is that then I run a scan on one of those models that otherwise would have a lot more islands, but because it's tuned to Artisan Guild and Artisan Guild sculpts are so good that the more complex models that maybe aren't as refined is a good word, may be getting missed. So you might, maybe there's two things you'd have. Maybe you have like a slider that you have for the level of detail. Yeah, Niku Shimi says some of the older DM Stash stuff was really bad about that. Sir, DM Stash sent me one model to support for them because they were on a crunch, and it had 1,500 islands because there was clothing texture on the bottom side of the model. It was unnecessary. Their models are great. They've got really detailed and excellent models. But when it comes to modeling specifically for 3D printing, that was a missed mark at that point. I have no idea if they've improved, but their artwork is excellent. But there's definitely a different consideration, I think, for 3D printing specifically. So yeah, some sort of like granular, or not granular, but some sort of control over how fine of an island scan we can do would be great, even though I know you don't have access to no pixel size or anything like that. In fact, I mean, you could technically just add it in. Let me type in my XY dimensions and calculate islands based on that, because I know, I can look up the XY resolution of any printer. And then I'll just let me type them in and run an island scan, and then we're good. Layer height and XY resolution without even having to type in what printer. Oh, you can set up, okay, you can set up printers in JSON. So JSON is going to be, for the average user, not really something we'll dive into, because I know the average user isn't really going to want to dive into that. But if it's possible to set up in JSON, then it's possible to set up in the UI. And so maybe that's something we expect to see in the future, because it will greatly affect the island detection system. Okay, so let's look at, so orientation I get, super good tool. Me being able to orient how I want, and then me being able to sort of like tweak it a little bit by island. This is the orientation I think is good. And then I would find the best orientation. It is giving me a really wide sweep. Maybe that's the 22-degree sweep that I gave it. So maybe I only want it to sweep like 5 degrees. Because this is way out of the orientation I was thinking. So I wanted something like this or close to it. And so if I really run this down to maybe a 5-degree sweep with 5 steps, yeah, this would be good. This would be really good. And this can kind of fine tune my orientation to give me something really close. See, like I would run this. This would be an orientation I would run. I'm not super pleased about the horizontalness of this arm, but that is not the auto orientation's fault. That's mine. But I have access to put heavy supports under it. And now this arm is more of a, we're looking at more of this upward angle. So we're sort of building on the arm a little bit. So this, I bet it tweaked it just a little, tried to reduce as many islands as possible. I know that I like the orientation here. I can get supports underneath. Chef's kiss on that. I love it. Advanced placement. Okay, line and fill. This is something we need, let's say, a base with. So we'll bring a base in. Grid optimization. Okay. Grid fill is up here. Our grid supports, and it opens the thing on the other side. So that's good. Okay. So I'm not seeing any sort of setting save button right now. But my understanding is that there would be a JSON file, but my download only has an application file with no sort of settings.json anywhere. So I'm not quite sure. Every global setting is saved when changed. Okay. I'm going to test that now because I believe I tried this grid support, and I believe I set it to 4, and then I closed and opened the software. So I'm going to try that right now to see if it kept the 4. Give me a moment here. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to go back to grid. It's 5 again. No, I closed it because I wanted to see if the settings saved. So I set grid to 4, close the program, reopen the program, it's back to 5. So the setting didn't save for me. But let's try a tip. You said global settings save. So if I go to medium, I set the tip to something crazy. Okay. So the settings saving is scene dependent. So I'd have to save the scene, then reload it. I can tell you that would be a grid sizes per scene. Okay. I would love, this is the thing, and I understand why it's per scene and Lychee. But I would love for me to be able to load a model, have grid support automatically loaded and automatically to the setting I want, instead of me having to go in and change the setting every time. That's one thing I really hate in the new one with Lychee, is that I have to go in, I have to find grid, I have to change it to 4. So every time I load a model, I have to lift the model, I have to change the raft, I have to add grid, and then I can start supporting. So I have this like 4 or 5 steps I have to do before I can even start working. I would have loved a macro. Like the ability to create a macro. Load the model, lift the model, add the raft, this raft, add grid supports, island detection if I want. You know what I mean? Where I could stack up functions, load the model, and as soon as I load it in, it does 4 things. And it basically skips me having to click every time. For the average person, when they're just doing like one model and they run the print, no big deal. But for professionals, I might do 20 models, 30 models in a day or in a session. And so it's me having to click grid 4, then start 30 times in a session. It gets super frustrating. Some sessions, I'll have just an arm. And I think it was Station Forge sent me 160 arms. The arms only took me a minute and a half to do. But every single time I had to go and turn on grid support, change the grid, snapping to grid or whatever you want to call it. What do we call it here? Grid snap. So I'd have to turn on grid snap, change it to 4 millimeters, and then do my supports, and then load the next one, go to grid snap, change it to 4 millimeters, do the next one, go to it's just a quality of life thing because it's working, but it's like I hate loading it in. I'd love for it to be global. And if I need a different setting for the particular scene, allow me to change it and then export the scene. But I would love for a persistent setting to work every time I load a model in. Just a personal one. Okay, smart selection. Is smart selection when I have a supported model in hand? Grid size, though, is better. I thought it was better for every scene. I don't use grid while supporting, but adapt at the end on grid. Yeah, and I understand you preferred the adaptation at the end. If you have a pre-supported scene you're willing to share with me, if you want to send it over Discord, yeah, that would be great. So I don't have to do like some sort of like messy supports live, then I can kind of mess with some of these. That would be awesome, because then I can look at the grid before and after. But although you like it to be done after you do the supports, I like it to be done while I do supports. Everybody who uses it's probably going to have some sort of like difference. Some people may hate grid, some people may want grid during, and some people may want grid after. So having the flexibility of being able to save that setting ahead of time would probably be pretty good. Look at that support. Okay. So my guess is smart selection would be if I have a pre-supported model and I want to select all the mini supports, I would then pick a couple of these settings and then click, and it would probably select everything in the scene that had a tip similarity. So if I had, I'm just guessing right now. So if I had a whole bunch of 0.1s, and then I had a bunch of whatever this is, 0.22s, and then I had a couple of 0.2, 0.3s. I don't know why this one's red, so I need some sort of indication of why it's red. Oh, okay. Okay. Okami. I can tell you how to do it in Lychee, although we're not here to talk about Lychee. What you do in Lychee is not use auto support. You use island support placement for what you're talking about. Because auto support removes everything. But if you go into the island detector and then click, oh, I'm not looking at it right now. We got to open Lychee Slicer real quick. Give me a moment. 1 moment, please. Boop. Boop. Here's a little Lychee Slicer for you real quick. Okay, so there's a button here that will do exactly what you want, Okami. So you can have done an island detection. That's the word I was looking for. And you can have a bunch of manual supports already done on here. Okay. But you can see a bunch of those islands. Instead of hitting auto support, I hit this button, add supports to all islands, and it won't remove all of my supports. It'll only add supports to the islands that are on there. So this is like the only solution you have, but it works pretty well. You just have to take care of that, that you don't rely on the place supports on islands to work perfectly. Yeah, a new button would be intuitive. I think most of us are used to like starting a new document in Microsoft Word or Excel or whatever. No, it's okay, Okami. I was waiting for Renato to send me a file here. I got it here. Thank you so much. I don't know if it's a pro feature, Okami. I've been paying for like 5 or 6 years, so I don't know what's free and what's not free on there, but that's the only way I know to do it. Okay, so I believe Renato just sent me the file. I think I'm just going to drag it to the scene, and it should remove my current puck. Perfect. Okay. Okay. Loading your file changed all my settings. So my resolution changed. Like the size of my window changed when I loaded it. So I'm going to try something here. I'm going to change the size of the screen. And then I'm going to reload that file you just gave me. Okay. This won't be very convenient when these files hit the community to use in Runebrace. you use an ultra wide screen. And so my software just ran ultra wide. If I were using a 1080 screen, half this thing would be off screen for me. It just so happens that I also use an ultra wide screen, so I didn't lose it. But I think having the program settings saved in the scene might be a problem long term. I could see people struggling with that long term. Does it also load all of your settings? So it's got your bracing settings. Okay, I can understand the bracing settings and the support tip settings and all that stuff. Yeah, I could see that. But my issue would be, what if I wanted to load your scene but use my settings? I can't without going back through all of them and resetting everything. Because technically I use different settings than you use, so it doesn't matter right now for the stream. But I'm trying to imagine what an average user might contend with, which is, you know, maybe they follow my classes and they know that my mediums are 0.28s, my heavies are 0.4s, and my lights are 0.22s. And I don't have an M medium. Yeah, I could definitely see that. Okay. Not important right now, but I could definitely see issue with full set of app settings coming in with a scene. Yeah, and that's exactly what I mean. It's like I loaded up with your settings and they work great for you, but they may not work great for me. So in order to get to a place where they work great for me, I now have to change all of them to go back to my settings, and that could get really tedious for me to have to do. So everybody's going to have slightly different techniques or slightly different needs or desires. And whenever they download, let's say they download a file that I do, they may not want all of the settings, the app settings, not the support settings, but the app settings that I have. They may not want that at all. And so when they load it, all of a sudden they are having to go in and change it. But let's move on from that. Okay, there's a few things. One, you were saying that you're perfect. This isn't currently in grid orientation. So let's do the grid, snap grid. So I'd love to see the snap grid calculation that you were talking about that you prefer over doing it with. Okay, so here I'll hit optimize supports to grid. And what this should do is this should take all of these supports and snap them to a 4mm grid. That didn't work as expected. Did I miss something here, Renato? Show all. Okay, so I'm going to click it again. Optimize supports. This is what I got. Do we believe some of them hid? And I should be showing them? Bracings. Oh, here we go. I see bracings here. Okay, little bug will show errors, but show all and all is okay. I don't know where to start. I don't know where the show all button is yet. Give me a second here. I found the bracings. I found auto hide. I found islands, raw normals, wireframe, polygon fill, symmetry. I know you keep saying press show all. I'm looking top right corner, show all. There it is. Okay. I'm like, I know show all. I'm just looking for it. Okay. Yeah, so we do have the grid now. Obviously the red support. Is this a proximity sensor? Why it's turning red? Like it's too close here. Same with this one, like too close to the 2. Okay, adaptive bracing, minimum distance. Okay. Okay. So we're looking at bracing settings. Bracing settings are global, I assume. Open tab for bracings. Here's a bracings tab. Minimum length. Okay. Am I supposed to select the supports for bracing? I'm showing the bracings. Am I supposed to be applying somehow? Okay. I see him moving. I see him moving globally when I change it. And I see minimum. Oh, okay. When I turn the max length up, all of a sudden the grid works better. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I understand now. Because we changed it to a 4mm grid, having it less than 4mm means we're never going to have any supports or never any braces at all. So then changing it to more than the grid should allow the braces to work more appropriately. And then we'll have angles. Okay. I use 0.7 braces on mine. And then okay. Max connections. And this would be one of those things I want to like just kind of want to play. Oh, it really wants to stick to the grid there. There we go. I just want to play with this a little bit here. Okay. Hold F1 key to activate. I'm trying to figure out how to get the bracing. Grid overlap supports. Optimize on grid will create childs. Okay. Orientation tools. Advanced placement. Grid overlap supports. Optimize on grid. Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. I'm trying to get these to have bracing, and I don't know if I'm supposed to hit a button. In Lychee, I hit a button to add bracing. Here, I don't know if I'm missing a setting because I just don't know the software well enough yet. Am I missing a setting here to get bracing across these? Or did I mess it up? Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Oh, I was just reminded. I have to take a small, not a small break, but I'm going to take a small break here. I have to ask, I don't know how many people are in there. Oh, we got a few people here. This is such a silly thing, but I promised my girlfriend I would do this. She's having a a pumpkin decorating contest at work. And one of her coworkers, I now have to find it. I'm going to link it. But one of her coworkers actually apparently paid people to vote. And so I guess what we have to do is we have to go in here and I have to go in here and comment. Take it low and like your favorite. Okay, so it's the clowns. I know this is super silly. Clowns. Okay. And I have to like this one. Perfect. I'm going to link you guys a link. And I'm going to ask that you take 5 seconds to go like the clown picture. And it's such a silly thing, but I'm going to do it. So please help my girlfriend beat her cheating coworkers. and go like the picture of the pumpkins with clowns on Facebook for me. All right, so back to what we were doing here. I am trying to figure out how to add braces, and I've missed something somewhere. Okay, maybe there's a shortcut. All right. I'm not seeing it. All right, so Renato, I need your help here. I have 4 supports that I place specifically to add braces. I want to add bracing between all 4. And I can't seem to figure out how. Now, I know I've messed with these settings quite a bit. Max length. I turned the max length all the way up and didn't get bracings. I turned the minimum length all the way down and didn't get bracings. I turned the minimum length all the way down and didn't get bracings. So max and min don't seem to add them for me. The radius shouldn't matter, but I'll turn it up to something reasonable. The max connections doesn't seem to add them. The steps in millimeters doesn't seem to add them. Yep, I tried many max connections. I tried few max connections, and I ended up with nothing. So I'm not sure what took place there, but I don't seem to be capable of adding in bracing. So I'm kind of stuck on that one. Oh, it's okay. Well, hopefully it's not too bad. But yeah, so I'm not sure. I'm sure it's something we can kind of tackle, like dive into it, or I can see if I can replicate this later where I was messing with stuff and I deleted a few things and I added a few things and oh yeah, let me do show all again just in case. So I've got 4 here, no bracings. I do have the bracing check marked at the bottom, so we should be seeing bracings. The show all button has not yielded any invisible supports here. So it just seems like I just don't have bracings appearing. Yeah, so I've set the minimum length to 0.1, which should be fine. I've set the maximum length to 20, which means I should brace everything no matter what. I've got bracing step to 1.5, but if I turn it to 10, I don't get any. If I turn it to 0.5, I don't get any. And if I slide it, I get nothing in between. So the steps in millimeters doesn't seem to yield any sort of like some braces. If I put max connections to 1, I don't get anything. If I put max connections to 10, I don't get anything. And as I slide it, I don't get anything. Maybe it's a grid enabled thing. No, because while supporting, let me turn the grid off. While supporting, I actually watched it auto brace. Let me load in a fresh model here. Let's load Puck back in. And try throwing some. Okay, so you say try dragging the columns. Okay. I don't know. Okay. So dragging the columns probably would have worked, but I kind of already closed it. Because hopefully it would have worked. But let me turn on the grid again. I didn't mean to turn this into a troubleshooting thing. Okay. Okay. And then I'm not sure if you're looking here, but if you see, I can drag this support off the raft. I can see here the raft kind of adapts, but then I'm able to pull the support off the raft. And I think that's probably something we should never be able to do. It would be silly of a person to do it, but somebody could do it by accident and cause failures. Okay, I've reset. I haven't reset. Let me close the program and reopen because I opened. Okay. I'm going to close the program and reopen so that I'm back to defaults. Once I'm back to defaults, we should be. Okay, let's bring Puck back in. Okay. Cindy, Laura says, thank you so much. But you commented on the wrong photo. If you would be ever so kind as to go back in, make sure you view the clown photo and then comment on that one. Okay. Okay, so let's try this again. We're going to place some supports. There, right there. So it auto braced when I use default bracings. I close the program, reopen the program. So here I'm going to add in some. Okay, as soon as I add a third one, the bracings went away. Okay. If this support is close enough to the other two, like here, I'm not overlapping, I'm not disrupting the other two. The bracings between the other two disappear. This could definitely be problematic. Like, we wouldn't want those braces to disappear. We would potentially want all three to be braced together, but now this one's sort of isolated without bracing. So there's definitely some, and here all the bracings are gone, whereas like they probably all should have braces. Lower max connections. Okay. Let me remove that. So I've got max connections set to 1. Does nano supports matter? I can move to like a medium support. Okay, so here we have bracings. Here, same thing. So the same, the nano, Cindy, I am unsure. I'm unsure. Sorry, guys. I know I'm distracted here. Doesn't make for a very interesting stream. Okay. So, Renato, I did. Cindy, I'm unsure. I can't see your comment anywhere, but Laura will probably message me if it's not. Otherwise, I'll talk to you about it later. Renato, I switched to medium supports and still yielded the same results when it came to bracing placement. So I have 2 supports here. Bracing looks great. If I add a third support close by, I lose the bracing between the first 2. Yeah, you said to turn the max connections down. Should I turn it up? Ah. So max connections per support is 10? Is that how that works? So here I have max connection set to 1. I add the other one. Is this between supports? So, okay, so I want to make sure I'm clear here. So I have the max connection set to 1. Does that mean that this support can only be connected to one other support? Or does it mean that there's a certain amount of connections for the bracings? In this case, there's 4 braces, so 4 connections. I suspect if I change it to 2, then each support can be connected to 2 other supports. That would be my guess. Okay. And then yeah, so if I add another one here, one of them lost its braces, but because it's still braced to this one, it's better. I understand. I totally get it now. So max connections is how many other supports any given support will brace against. So if I add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, this one only has 2 for some reason. So this one's connected to 2. So if I add a third one, close to this one here, then my assumption is that the bracing will be removed from either the left or the right one in favor of the new one that I've added. Let me create the tip length so I can get a little more distance here. Okay. Okay. So now when I place this, yeah, here it is. These 2 supports lost their bracing, which means this one still is only connected to 2, and then this one connected to 2 as well. This is actually a really, really good system. In fact, 2 is typically the most you need. So that'll just be my default setting. It'll be 2. And so yeah, as soon as I figure out the fine details here, this is a really powerful system. I really like this a lot. How's it going? Valandar, the red. Welcome to the stream. Okay, so the bracing settings take a little getting used to. But minimum length I get, maximum length I get. Emphasis on the first syllable. It's Valandar. I got it? Yeah, not Valandar, but Valandar. I gotcha. Welcome to the stream. Renato, this is good. I understand why you would want a max length. We wouldn't want 20 millimeter braces. They would be useless. The angle I find is interesting. Okay, understand the angle. Yeah, I'm very, very impressed, Valandar. I'm really liking it. I think it has tons of potential. Okay. And then the radius is just the thickness of the braces. Perfect. So really, I'm going to have to do a lot of testing and just fine tune the, what's the max length we'd ever want. There exists this problem that could happen if you have a lot of very clustered supports. You can actually overbrace those supports and they become more difficult to remove from the model. And so I found what works really well for removal is if there's a little bit of flexibility in the structure. So the more we brace this structure, like the more contacts we have, the more stiff this little support structure is. And the stiffer it is, it's hard for me to put into words, but I have 4 contacts on his face. And while the support structure is super stiff, all 4 contacts have to come off at the same time. But if I reduce the amount of contacts to the model and I reduce the amount of supports or braces. So you can see here, I've reduced the braces. This will actually give a little flex where we might be able to pull the tip of his nose off separate from his chin, even though they're braced together. And so we actually have a much more easy to remove braced support structure. And so I found that really fine tuning the braces helps the end experience removing the model, simply because you're not over stiffening that bracing structure. If 20 is too long, oh yeah, for the max length, then the slicer could be better with a smaller max value for more granularity. Yeah, and there's plenty here. Like, I don't see any reason you would need to go over 4 or 5 millimeters anyway. So there's like a lot of overhead here that's probably never going to get used, but it is it's granular enough to get the job done. So I think I set this to like 5.5, and all of a sudden we're set. And then the only other thing, and maybe I have to play with this first before I make this statement, but I'm going to make it anyway because we're live, is I would love to have control over individual braces. And there is, I'm trying to think, but there is a potential where I don't want these two braced together, right? And so I would love to be able to select one and say no braces connected to this, or I'd love to be able to select the braces and control them myself, possibly. But that's like not important right now. That is a habit I have because I've been using Lychee Slicer. That may not be a necessary habit. Okay. That may not be a necessary habit. Ooh, I made a mess there. With this system. So I'd want to actually put some more time into this system before deciding that it is a feature I'd like to have back. Or that I would miss, so to speak. But okay, bracing makes total sense. We all know what each one does. Can I create manual drag bracing mode? Hold F2 to activate. Manual drag. Bracing mode. F2, manual drag bracing mode. Hold F2 to activate. This is only slide in virtual parallel plane. Okay. Yeah, I would love the control to be able to... so I can move that out, but I can't move it up and down? Or is there a trick to that? Like if I could hold control or shift or something and it would allow me to lock a plane, I would love to be able to... This is perfectly perpendicular to the model, which is typically what you'd want, but there are plenty of scenarios where I would need to edge in at an angle, or I'd need to adjust the angle after the fact. And I would love the ability to take this and adjust the approach angle. Control drag, add 2-point pillar, mesh to mesh. Oh, okay. So control is how I make a mini support. Oh, okay. Just slightly different hotkey, but it works. You can lower it directly, but you can't. I assume you mean you can't lower it directly, but you can change the tip repositioning and drag elbow to fine tune. Okay, so I can move the tip and I can drag the elbow. I don't know if this is the elbow. Yeah, I think this is the elbow you mean. I just can't move. I can move the elbow on X and Y, but I can't move the elbow on Z. So, so yeah, that could be something that would be workable. Um, there is. That's okay, man. I understand. I'm typing it for one, and I'm sure, and I'm betting English is your second language and not your first. So I like no stress about that at all. I do want to show you a couple things in Lychee though that I do with complex models that I'm seeing I probably wouldn't be able to do in this. So just some stuff to sort of see and then decide if you like the idea of it or if you like the ability of it. So I'm gonna bring in Lychee here actually, and then we're gonna bring in let's bring in Puck. I think I'm bringing in Puck. Are we? Bring in Puck. Okay, so we're going to bring a support here and a support here. And let's say one here. Okay. Automatic placement will connect supports to equal or bigger supports. Yeah, I messed with that. That was one of the first things I messed with, and I really like that. Especially it happens automatically with the grid support system, but if you're not using the grid support system, that is a super, or grid snap system, that's super awesome. F1 automatic bracing will not connect a mid to a light support. Okay. So this is something that I use commonly in order to reach angles that otherwise I wouldn't be able to reach. In this case, Puck doesn't have any of those angles, so I'm going to pretend like this tooth is one of those angles. So if there was some reason I wouldn't be able to just drop a support on this tooth, what I might do is I might create a brace across here, and then I might run a mini support to the brace so that I could achieve the angle I'm looking for. But without the ability to control the braces, I am restricted in how I could approach an angle that might be hard to reach. So if I needed to get, let's say, up in here somehow, I could have two supports with a brace in between, and I could bring in a support to that brace. This is not the best example, but you see, now I've given myself the architecture to get in there and reach something that otherwise I might not have been able to. So I would love this one controllable brace is what allows me that. And then the other part is yeah, just simply being able to control this angle entirely. You know, because I may need to work it just around a tooth or something, or I may need to get the most vertical approach I can get. So being able to change that. So that I found that to be really helpful. So that it might be entirely possible. I just haven't figured out how yet. Let me open. There we go. I support that. Yeah. So as of now, I'm not quite seeing that ability. If there's some way I can create a support that goes across too, then I could use this mini support tool, which is it's click and drag. It's click and drag. Okay. Then I could still maybe accomplish that. So yeah, I'm thinking the ability to control that joint, the top knuckle on that Z axis would be great. And then, yeah, the ability to create a manual brace across to exactly where I want. Okay. With the current rune brace, it's click drag directly from the main branch. Yeah. Oh, that didn't do it. That wasn't what I was thinking. Click and drag. Yeah. So I'm not seeing any way to create the green structure between two supports, which would be really, really powerful. Awesome. Okay. Raft settings, we already kind of went over. Hollowing settings. Okay. Do I have access to scale? I do. Is this scale usable? From the model and transfer it to the support. Yeah, I can do it from the model and bring it to the support. And you're saying maybe grab this or grab it from here. No, it stays glued to the model. Yeah. Okay. So 2 ways to scale. I'm going to try to make him bigger just so I can mess with the hollowing here. So I got 2 ways to scale. Okay. You have to have no supports to scale. Okay. Here's our scaling. S scale value before supports as the rotation. Relative scaling will manage supported model. Oh, I see. Okay. So there's relative scaling somewhere. I see this, but it's disabled because I have supports. So there's a relative scaling somewhere. Tab. Okay, tab. There's a tab for relative scaling. Oh, we got to mess with the smoothing too. Relative scaling. There it is. Okay. My guess would be that the supports didn't move as intended. So I'm going to wager. Okay. I'm going to wager this is something still probably in progress. Can't use the scale above and relative scaling. Got it. So one is global scaling and one's relative scaling. Okay. So okay. I'm feeling like when I type 200% in here, it's actually more like 400%. Okay, so what I'm seeing here, master scale's at 200. Master scale, oh, okay. So master scale 200. Then under the logo. Right, so this is disabled though because I have supports. So what I was trying to do was scale it up with the supports connected and then hollow it, which I figured would be master scale. But what I'm seeing is if I change master scale to 200, this appears to be 200, but it says 100 now. But when I click 100%, it goes back down. So I think there might be some refresh issues here. But if I type in 200, he appears to be 200. But if I hit enter, he appears to be 400. So it's probably duplicating the command. Like that's definitely not 200% scale. But if I don't hit enter, it says 100, but he's 200%. Yeah, that might be the master scale. There might be something to look at, but we got it figured out enough for continuing here. Yeah, it definitely is just some sort of GUI bug. Obviously, the scaling is working. It's just how the function is being affected by the UI. Okay, so we're gonna look at hollowing real quick. I do a 1.8 thickness. I don't know if you're taking notes, but I would love to be able to type that in. Voxel size. I don't know what the voxel size is, so I'm going to leave it for now. Okay, so holes aren't working yet. That's totally cool. But I have to somehow apply the hollowing. Is it enter voxel mode? Okay, so now I'm in voxel edit mode. Lower the layer so I can see the inside. Holy crap. This is different. I wasn't expecting this. Okay. So this would be the hollowing that would take place at 1.7. I understand. So then the voxel size. So each one of these is a voxel. And then if I change the voxel size, I should expect to see far more of them. And the duration of time is going to go up a lot because I probably doubled or more than doubled the amount of voxels. That's exactly what happened. So I know exactly why that took longer. It's because I changed the voxel size to 0.2, essentially 2.5 timesing the voxel size, the voxel count for the hollowing. But what that means is that the hollowing would be more precise. Am I correct there? In that having a smaller voxel size makes a much cleaner hollow on the inside. So I'm going to generate that, which I'm betting will also take a bit longer. Oh, that is smooth and clean on the inside. And yeah, it looks like lots of polygons. And my guess is because of my voxel size, that's why I got such a smooth and clean. Such a smooth and clean interior. I really like that. Remove hollow. So we'll go back. So if I change to much bigger voxels, it went way faster. And then I generate, and now the final generation should be chunkier in nature. It is chunkier technically, but like perfectly acceptable for what we're doing. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, so maybe that's something to throw in there. Add to the end of the function to where it refreshes that. It refreshes the visual UI so that you don't have to change the layer to get rid of that white one. But ultimately, just set the sucker to 2. It'll hollow super fast. And the result is really clean. Yeah, I think functionally, I'm gonna push this pretty hard here. Let's I want to see what happens. Why did that happen so fast? Is it because I generated it once already? Is it cached somehow? Because I put it back down to 0.2 and then it, went super fast. Whereas before it took ages. Oh, now it's back to taking a while. Okay. The taking a while is very expected here. Enter voxel mode. There we go. Oh, it didn't take very long at all. But what we're doing is we're getting... Oh. Okay. What we're getting, though, is more hollowed area. So although my thickness is the same, because I have more voxels, I get more of this hollowed area to save resin. So yeah, that control over it could help with with like areas that would otherwise create suction cups that you could smooth out a little bit more with a thicker voxel and smoothing. So the smoothing isn't anything that I see live. This is so weird. It's like this weird alien wearing a puck skin. That's terrifying. It's like hold B to use the brush to deselect voxel. Hold B. Okay, so how does that... Okay, so I see that the voxels are selected. What does selecting the voxels do for me? Okay, I see that. Okay. So what is selecting those provide me? What can I adjust that would... And, you know, honestly, brush is great for the selection. I just don't know what to do with the selection. So now that I have the voxel selected, okay, generate. Oh, it's a hollow blocker. So the sections that I selected are blocked. That is so much better than Lychee blockers. Oh my God. So much better. We're stuck using just, or I don't know what you call them, the objects, like a cylinder, a circle, a cube for hollow blockers. This is organically shaped blocking. Primitives, that's what I was looking for. Thanks, Tom. Hey, Tom. Oh, that is really good. Yeah, that's really, really good blocking there. I love that. This is great. This is great. I really like this. I really like this. I can't wait to see it like version 1.0, like kind of ready to ship out, so to speak. Like, this is really good, man. There's a lot of really, really good, smart features here. One thing that I use that I'm going to need, 100% going to need, I love how many presets you have. I need a hotkey to switch between them. So I'm used to 3, but it's like I use 1, 2, 3 keys. I use Control 1, Control 2, Control 3 keys. And I switch between support, control wheel, control wheel. Okay. A bit useful, but not as useful. If I want to go from micro to light, I have to go visibly watch myself scroll through it. Whereas I would love to just switch from 1 to 5 to 3 to whatever. But that is still workable, like 100% workable. Now, why am I stuck with that? What's happening here that I'm stuck with that? I'm not sure the scroll wheel will be quicker. Technically, it's more steps. It's more granular. Whereas just for one, I'm a hotkey person, but me not having to scroll from micro to mini to M light to medium to heavy to get to heavy from light. Okay, yeah. Then we won't. I forgot. We did some scaling here, so I won't even consider that. But that's a lot of looking and paying attention. Whereas I don't even have to look if I just use hotkeys. Yeah, I mean, I have a Logitech with infinite scroll. So I can choose between like an infinite scroll or like a notched scroll. So the scrolling is fine. It's not the end of the world. It's just I have to take 6 steps to get to heavy, whereas before I just had to hit one button. But I think having the option is nice, which is why like having programmable hotkeys is king there. So like have this control scroll wheel and also have I guess my face cam died. Well, let me turn that off. I didn't even notice. Thanks for letting me know there. My camera's off. Oh, that's weird. My camera just shut off for some reason. I don't know why. I guess I'm back. I don't know if it's looking very good here because my zoom is all bleh. Good enough, I suppose. We're gonna have to deal with it. Okay. Oh, I overzoomed a little. I'll back off. Oh, boop, boop, boop. Good enough for now. Thanks for letting me know. I didn't notice that. I didn't notice the camera turned off. So cool. All right. Please reload the model. Will do. Boop. Model reloaded. And that's weird. I still have the color on his face. I reloaded the model, obviously. Oh yeah. Renato, that's not like an important thing. Just something now that you know to kind of tinker with. But yeah, so I have no supports on him. I imagine when I place the support, it'll update the color. But because I loaded the same model, all of the color from the supports from the last model are persistent. And as soon as I click one, it updated. Just a weird small thing, but just something I noticed. But yeah. So I guess the key here is I need these settings. I want to make sure I do these settings. So if I do a tip, like my 0.4 tip for heavy, and then I close the app, and then I reopen the app. Give me a moment here. And then I bring puck back in. My heavy should still be 0.4. It's 0.3 again. I'm not sure why that is. So I thought it was only the grid that didn't save. But when I load it, I'm back to default support settings. So I don't know how to save them. So I don't know if there's a button I need to do. My understanding was autosave. Okay, so right now it's in JSON, except I don't have a JSON anywhere. So when I run the program, all I have is runebrace.console. That's the only file I have. So I'd have to create a support preset.json, like manually, because I didn't get one with the software. Dawn, thanks for hanging out. Okay. Open folder and global settings. Open folder. Global settings. Open data app folder. Oh! There it is. Got it. Okay. Recent files support presets. There it is. JSON. Cool. Yeah, that's totally workable. I like it. I like it. Recent files, printer presets. I noticed in the printer presets you have 4 different printers. Which volume is this? Is this one of the 4? It's not a Saturn. It's not a Frozen. Oh, it could be the Frozen 8K. So yeah, this printer volume I'm curious about. Looks, yeah, I can't tell what size it is, but But yeah, okay, so you guys can't see it, but if I wanted to save my settings, you would go to the general settings, global settings, open app data folder, and then you can't see the folder that opened, but there's a global settings, a printer settings, a supported presets JSON in there. And the JSON's pretty obvious what to edit and how to edit, but it's really important that you don't break things, like don't delete a quotation mark or don't delete a comma. Just change the just change the values, like from a 0.09 to a 1.0, right? Otherwise you'll break the JSON and then the settings won't work, and I would wager the app will not like the end result. But I think I've covered... Oh, you know what I didn't cover that I thought was really, really fancy that we're going to cover real quick? Right here. This smoothing brush setting. So sometimes you get... Gosh, it's so good, dude. Sometimes you'll get... And this model was done by Velrock Art. I don't know if Velrock's still in here. But he knows what he's doing as far as sculpting for 3D printing. And so he doesn't leave, you know, like rogue polygons. But sometimes artists will miss some rogue polygons, or a tip will be too sharp on a point. And so, oh, look at that. So there is a built-in brush. It's called a smoothing brush. And let's say the tip of this is too small. Do we see, like, there's two different white areas here, right? There's an outer ring, which is the diameter of the support, and there's an inner ring, which is actually the amount of the model that actually makes contact inside of the support tip. So that inner ring is actually smaller, so that everything on that inner ring will actually be removed when the support is removed. If I wanted to clean that up a bit, there's a smoothing brush where you hold S, and now what I can do is I can take and it basically averages the polygons, and I can smooth that out. So now when I make contact, you see how much bigger that inner contact is? If I smooth it just a little more, now that inner contact is almost the entirety of the support. So when there's some bad or rogue mesh that's really sharp or jaggy or hanging an extra vertice or edge or something weird, you can just hold S and you can just throw a little smooth on top of it. The polygon should average out and then give you like a nice surface to attach a support to. In this case, I didn't need to smooth this. I was just looking for the only place I could actually give you like a scenario. Oh, yeah. So sometimes you'll get like mesh errors where two of the polygons will overlap each other in like a 2D space. And using the smoothing tool, you can actually undo the overlap. Like when the polygons are averaged out, they spread out where they need to be and fix it. It's something you definitely can do in Blender, but it's so nice to not have to go into Blender, fix that portion of the mesh, come back here, do the support, find another one, go back to Blender, come back and fix it. You can just fix it right here in the model or in the program. I can't really call it a slicer, but it's kind of a slicer, so that's what I'm going to call it. But so really not much here for me to talk about. Like, obviously I hold S, I can scroll up and give myself a big brush, I can increase the intensity, and now I can smooth the heck out of his whole face really fast, or I can lower the intensity and smooth it out really slow. You can barely see it moving there. And then change the size of the brush so I can focus on just like delete that. Focus on just a small area that I want to smooth. That's just a tool that's working great. That's amazing. I really, really like that. You can enable triangle. What do you mean by triangle? I'm going to put this back up. Wireframe in the bottom. I know there was a wireframe view. Yeah, there's wireframe view. Where was it? Here. Normal wireframe. There we go. Now you can see those polygons move around. Yep. So super, super, super helpful tool. All right, guys. Well, it's been, how long have we been streaming? A couple hours now? A while. So, I think I'm going to call it a night. It's 10:30 my time. I actually have some work to do. So I'm going to call it good there. I think I tackled just about everything that I could find in the app. Oh, actually, there was a few things we didn't, like polygon fill, line fill, stuff like that. We're going to have to... My camera just died. I just watched my camera shut off. I don't know why I did that. We'll kick it back on here. I think it's because it's like in sleep mode or whatever. It should be charging. Oh, the battery's dead. Okay, my camera's going to die for sure. We're going to switch to face cam. Hey, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. My camera's going to die in a second, so I'm going to cut the stream. I got it plugged in, but apparently not enough amperage to keep the camera going. But I know a lot has been going on with Lychee and with the AI gen thing and all of that stuff. It's a big deal, and a lot of us need an alternative that we feel good with. I think, although we're not slicing files for printers with this software will help us do everything else. I'm going to keep talking. I know my battery just shut off here. I'm so sorry, guys. I know that I'm just going to go to boop. Here we go. I know that we need an alternative, and there's not a whole lot of alternatives out there. And so after looking this over and getting a chance to like deep dive it, this is currently great, but it's going to be even better. You know, I know some of the stuff's going to get picked up. Please keep in mind when you're using it, there's only one gentleman working on it. That's a lot of coding to solo for one person. So be patient, offer feedback, give support, encouragement, you know, like all of that stuff. Make sure Renato knows that you appreciate the work he's putting into this, because this looks like the best alternative I've ever seen. It's the thing I've been waiting for I don't know how long. This is just super incredible, man. I'm so excited about it. So nope, nobody gets me. I'm gonna try it one more time so I can say goodbye to you guys for real here. There it is. Anyway, excellent work, sir. I'm so excited about it. You're doing a great job. We love you for all the effort you're putting in. I will see you guys over on the server. I'll probably try to stream more often. I know it's been about 1.5 years, but we're gonna try to get back into it. So that's it. That's all I got for you guys. I love you guys so much. Have a good night. Bye.